Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Jaidim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya Nastapraeshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiti. So I've been asked to speak, as you heard, on a topic which is something all of us have to confront one day, sooner or later. We all have to confront that fatal moment when we leave the body. Right? We call it death. But for the soul, there's no death. What is death is simply the change of the body. So we should understand that moment, that crucial moment, as something of like a final exam. Just like, maybe you remember when you studied, or maybe you're studying even now, and you have to prepare for the examination which comes, the final exams. Students sometimes tell me they've got final exams coming up. So it's a big moment, crucial moment, the final exam. If you pass the exam, wonderful. You go on to new heights. Maybe you go out and find a job, start working. Or maybe you go on to further studies. Anyway, the final exam comes at the moment when we have to leave this body. There's a famous verse by Maharaj Kulashekar. Those of you who are from South India, you will know this verse. Right? Krishna Tvadiya Padapam Kachapanjarantam Adyaiva me Vishatu Manasarajahamsa Prana Prayana Kapaye Papavata Pitaye Kantavaro Dhanavido Smaranam Kutaste. Maharaj Kulashekar, one of the Alvars, the famous Alvars from South India, he describes, he said, let me die now while I can still chant the holy name of the Lord. If I have to wait for my death to come naturally, then at that moment my throat may be choked up with mucus and I won't be able to feelingly chant the holy name. So he prays, let me die now while I can still chant. So we can understand something of Maharaj Kulashekar's mood. He was a very enthusiastic devotee. He wanted so much to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Actually, he was a devotee of Lord Ramachandra, and he was constantly hearing Ramayana. And sometimes when he would hear the pastimes of Lord Rama fighting against Ravan, he'd become so enthused. He said, let's go, we have to go and help Lord Ram. Call the army, get the army out. Let's all go and help Lord Ram fight the battle. We'll all go to Lanka and help the Lord. And he's the king. Everyone had to follow his instructions. So they thought what to do. So some of the officers who were a bit intelligent, they thought, I know how to do it. We'll make a plan. And as they were all marching towards Lanka, these other two officers, they came and they appeared and said, "It's all right, we just came from Lanka. The battle's already over. Lord Rama already won. He's already defeated Ravan and he's got back Mother Sita." And when Kulashekar heard the news, he thought, oh, all right, let's go back. And they turned around and went back to the... This was his enthusiasm, his mood in serving the Lord. And he prayed like that wonderful prayer, that let me die now while I can still chant the holy name. And we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's mood in fighting the battle of Kurukshetra with Lord Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it said, let me die on the battlefield, because that is a glorious death. For a Kshatriya, he wants that honor to die on the battlefield. Tamal Krishna Goswami was serving Srila Prabhupada in his final days, when Srila Prabhupada's health was very poor. And at one point, he told Srila Prabhupada, he said, "I want to take you to the West, Srila Prabhupada, and you can, because that was the field of your battle. You were fighting the most there against Maya and the material energy in the Western countries to bring Lord Chaitanya's mission into these Western countries." And he was telling Prabhupada, if you go there and if you leave the body, it will be glorious, because to die on the battlefield is glorious. And Prabhupada said to him, he said, "Yes, I want that. I want to die on the battlefield." So that was Srila Prabhupada's word. The battlefield, of course, meant preaching Krishna consciousness, delivering the message of the holy name and Lord Chaitanya to the faithless, to the fallen souls, to the impersonalists and the voidists. So this is a glorious way to dedicate our life, to give your life fully for the service of the Lord, that you can leave the body on the battlefield, preaching. As we just heard, this wonderful devotee, Chitta Hari Prabhu, he had the opportunity that just a few hours before he departed from the world, he cooked prasadam for something like 1,000 devotees. So that was also leaving the body on the battlefield, not going away from devotional service. We want to understand how to prepare ourselves for that moment. As we heard Bhakti Purushottam Swami was saying, some people talk about the art of living, but in Krishna consciousness we're more talking about the art of dying. And so today we're speaking about the glorious death, the glorious departure. How do we prepare ourselves for that? Of course, we have to practice. It's going to take some practice. It's not an easy thing, because generally at the moment of leaving the body, people will be fearful, will be worried. Oh, what will happen? All of our attachments will be more pronounced at that moment. We'll be thinking more about, maybe you have a bank balance, or you'll be thinking about your loved ones, the family members. You'll be thinking about the things which are very dear to you. And we know from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bharat Maharaj is the classic example. He got in trouble. That Bharat Maharaj, although he had renounced so much opulence and so much fame and position to go and renounce everything, to go up to the Himalayas and to reside at the banks of the Ganduki, that somehow he got attached to a deer, to a little animal. And it happened that at the moment of his death, he thought of that deer, and he had to take another birth. He had to come in next life as a deer. So it was a great disappointment, because he was trying so much to liberate himself from the material world, but somehow he'd fallen down and he'd become attached to an animal, and he had to become an animal in his next life. So that is not glorious. That is a failure. If you read our book, Coming Back, there's just a little pocket book, Coming Back, the Science of Reincarnation. So the last chapter in the book is entitled, Don't Come Back. Right? If we come back again in this world, it means we were not fully successful. Just like if you have a final exam and you fail the exam, you have to come back, do the whole course again. You have to waste so much time, more money, more tension, again the same problem, the same stuff, the same material, and prepare again for the exam. So we want to be sure that now we have this human body. We're so fortunate that by the grace of the Lord, He's given us this human body. The human body is superior to the animal, superior to the trees and the plants and all these other lower living entities. It's in the human form of life that we have the opportunity to achieve success. And that success is coming, it should come at the moment when we have to leave this body, when we have to depart from this body. Lord Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 8th chapter, Yam yam vapismaram bhavam chachiti ante kalevaram tam tam evaita kunteya sadatad bhavam bhavita. That whatever we remember at the end of life, then that state we will attain in the next life. And what we remember at the end of life is the things which we've focused our attention on throughout our life. Sometimes foolish people think, some foolish people, they hear the pastime of Ajamila from the 6th canto, and we hear about Ajamila, how at the moment of death he chanted Narayan. And because he chanted Narayan, the Vishnu Dutas came and saved him from Yamaduts. The Yamaduts were coming because Ajamila had been very sinful. But at the end of his life, when he saw the Yamaduts, then he called for his son. And his son was named Narayan. And when he called Narayan, Vishnu Dutas came. And the Vishnu Dutas would not allow the Yamaduts to take Yamaraj away. So when common people hear this, they think, oh, I will also wait till the end of life, then I will chant. But if we have not practiced throughout the life, then we won't be able to remember the Lord's name at the end of life. Because whatever we're absorbing our mind in the course of our years here in this material body, that will become pronounced at the moment of death. And that will take us to our next body, the next birth again in the material world. However, after mentioning this verse in Bhagavad Gita, the next sloka says, Antakale chamame vasmaran mukva kalevara. Whatever, if at the end of life, if we can remember the Lord, then we will be able to go to Him. But we have to practice remembering Him. And this is what we're doing. When we come together, when we have our association, we're practicing hearing and chanting about the Supreme Lord. And we hope that you will practice not just only every Sunday, but we hope you'll practice every day. And we encourage all the devotees to make it a regular program every day. And if possible, at every moment, we want to remember the Lord. How to do that? Well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been very kind. He has given us the holy name to chant. We can chant. You may chant, and you can chant aloud, or you may chant softly if it's not convenient. Loud chanting is very good, more powerful. The louder you chant, more powerful it becomes. But if due to certain circumstances, you're not able to chant loudly, then chant softly. And if you're not able to chant even softly, then try to chant in your mind. But that is more difficult. To chant in the mind is much more difficult. Why? Because our mind is very unsteady. We know from the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was hearing Lord Krishna describe about meditation and focusing the mind, and Arjuna said, oh, I cannot do that. My mind is more restless than the wind. Lord Krishna said, yes, I know it's difficult. Lord Krishna said, I know it's difficult, but if you practice, by constant practice and detachment, then you can do it. So two things were mentioned by Lord Krishna in that respect. Abhyasena tu konteya vairagena chakriyate. We have to practice. Therefore, devotees are encouraged to practice chanting the Maha Mantra. And we chant, of course, if you're initiated, we make a vow to chant every day, minimum 16 rounds. And there are many devotees who chant much more. So, more chanting helps to make it easier to remember the Lord. Because the Lord comes in His holy name. And chanting is the way in which we can attract the attention of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna said, Naham tishtani vaikunte yoginam hridayeshu va tatra tishtani narada yatra gayanti madbhakta. Lord is saying, I am not in the Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. And I am not in the hearts of the yogis who meditate on me. But I am wherever my devotees, like Narada, are chanting my holy name. So, the Lord is showing how dear to Him are those devotees who are chanting the holy name. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Kirtaniya Sadahari, always chant the holy name. So this is very important for us. Somehow find the way in which you can chant to remember Krishna. That will make our life successful. For the devotee, Jiva Goswami says, Jivava Marava Sadhu. He said, for the one who is a devotee, a sadhu, it doesn't matter if he lives or if he dies. Because in his life, he's serving the Lord, he's dedicated to the service of the Lord, he's chanting the holy name, He's doing whatever service he can, and if he dies, he'll go on and serve the Lord in some other place. So it doesn't make any difference if he lives or if he dies. It's just changing the body. But Jiva Goswami said, Vyadi ma jiva ma mara. He said, if you're the butcher or the hunter, don't live, don't die. Don't live because you're living in hell. Every day killing, cutting, all these things. Don't live and don't die, because when you die you go to hell also. So Jiva Goswami is explaining to us the importance of cultivating our devotion for Lord Krishna. This devotion is up to all of us as individuals to cultivate our consciousness of Krishna. It's not just, oh, get initiation, have a spiritual master. It's up to each of us to practice the process, to practice hearing about Krishna. Nowadays, hearing is made very easy for us. The mobile networks, there are countless lectures, discourses in all the different languages you could desire. There's so much opportunity to hear about Lord Krishna and about his wonderful activities and his teaching, his philosophy. It's all there for us. We just have to be willing to hear. So hearing is the first step. We hear, and then next comes chanting. We have to not just only hear, we have to also chant. Try to understand the process of Krishna consciousness. On one side, there are prohibitions, things you're not to do. And on the other side, there are regulations, things you must do. Just like in Astanga Yoga, the first two angas of Astanga Yoga, Yama and Niyama. Regulations and prohibitions. So we also have like that in Krishna consciousness, in our Krishna conscious process. We have prohibitions. We say, Prabhupada said, no illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, no intoxication. And then Prabhupada adds, no nonsense. Right? It's all nonsense activities. These nonsense activities will bring you back in the material world. You have to come back again. This is the result of performing sinful activities. When we act against the scriptures, it creates reactions. And the reactions are it will bring us back to take again another material body. So no nonsense, but in order to make sure that we avoid all the nonsense, we have to have the activities which will keep us engaged, which will keep us absorbed, which will keep us away from the nonsense. We have to have the regulations, and that is chanting, hearing, reading the books, worshipping the Lord, doing some puja. You may not have deities, you may not have such an elaborate altar, but worship can be done. Even you can worship in your mind. The Shastra tell us about one Brahmana. He was worshipping in his mind every day. He was very poor. He had no paraphernalia to worship. But within his mind, he wanted to worship the Lord. So every day, he would, in his mind, he would meditate about going to the holy rivers, going to Ganga, and getting a big pot, a big load full of water from the Ganga, then going to Yamuna and getting water from the Yamuna, then going to Godavari, the Kaveri, and collecting water from all the different holy rivers, and then he would bathe the deity in his mind, and after he bathed the deity, then he would dress the deity with beautiful clothes. He had nothing, but within his mind, he was meditating, contemplating, dressing the deity. And then he would meditate on putting a beautiful flower garland and a crown. And then he would meditate on cooking a feast for the deity. And he would do this not just one day. He would do this every day. For years it went on. He was every day he was doing and it became such great pleasure for him, thinking about serving Krishna in this wonderful way. And he was cooking, and he had nothing to cook with, but within his mind he was meditating on cooking. And one day he was cooking kheer, right? It's sweet rice. And of course, the kheer, it should not be too hot. It should be cold. When I used to be in the New York temple, and we used to have a very good Sunday feast there in the 1970s. Oh, we had so many people come. And they came because the prasadam was so good. And we would cook kheer. We would cook gallons of this kheer. We would cook it 3 days before Sunday. We would cook it on Thursday. We'd go in there, we'd have pots of cooking the sweet rice, making sure it doesn't burn. And we'd cook it, and then we'd let it cool down, put it in the refrigerator or something, and it'd get nice and cool. Then Sunday feast we could distribute, nice hot buttery halva and ice cold sweet rice, and people, wow, they loved it. You interested? Prasadam, very important, our secret weapon in preaching Krishna consciousness. I was telling devotees here, very important. I was just in Bahrain, and we had wonderful programs there because the prasadam was so good. When there's very good prasadam, then there'll be very good devotees. And so then the Brahmana was meditating on the sweet rice, and he was thinking, I don't know if the sweet rice is ready to offer yet, maybe it's too hot. And he put his finger, because in Krishna consciousness, we don't taste. We cook. And you're not supposed to taste, you're supposed to offer to Krishna first, and then you taste it. But, so he couldn't taste it. So what he did, put his finger in the sweet rice just to see if it was hot. And he burned his finger. And he was so surprised, he burned his finger. But why? Because it was meditation on Krishna. It was real. It was happening. The Lord was watching, and he was enjoying. And when he saw this Brahmana burn his finger, the Brahmana was surprised. He said, how I burned my finger? And Krishna was laughing. He brought him back to God. He went back home, back to God, to cook for Krishna there. So this shows that you can serve Krishna in the mind. No one can say, oh, I couldn't do it, I couldn't do anything, I didn't have any paraphernalia. Doesn't matter. Everyone has a mind. Just use our mind to remember Krishna. Fix our mind on Krishna and think how you can serve Krishna. In the Kali Yuga, it is said, if you think about doing good, even you didn't do it, if you just think about doing good, you get the benefit. In other ages, you have to do it to get it. But in Kali Yuga, if you just think about doing good, you get the benefit. And if you think about doing something bad, you have to do it before you get the reaction. So Kali Yuga is very special, you know. If you just think about doing good, you can get the benefit. So chanting Hare Krishna is also very special in the Kali Yuga. Kaler dosha nidirajan asti eko mahadguna kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha samachana. The age of Kali is an ocean of faults. Dosha. Do you have any doshas in your chart? Just a few, right? Not too many, we hope. And doshas, faults. Arjuna said, because of my dosha, Kapanya dosha, right? Arjuna, what was Arjuna's dosha? Kripana, miserly weakness. His dosha, that was his fault. So, age of Kali, ocean of dosha. Not dosa, but the faults, ocean of faults, many faults. So there are many faults. But there's one good thing, Kali Yuga, just by kirtan you can cross over that ocean of material existence. So this is so wonderful. Kirtan, we have to do kirtan more. If you chant more, then it will give you the greatest spiritual progress. I'm always telling families that have your family at home, do kirtan with your family. Get the family together to chant together. It's very wonderful to keep everyone engaged in kirtan. It helps us to remember Krishna. Remembrance of Krishna. We want to remember Krishna, you have to do these things. You have to chant the holy name. You have to do kirtan. You have to think how to worship Krishna. Lord Nityananda and Haridas were told by Lord Chaitanya. Right? Chaitanya Bhagavat says, Suno Suno Nityananda, Suno Haridas. Priti gari gari giya koroe bhiksha, bolo Krishna, bhajo Krishna, koro Krishna shiksha. Lord Chaitanya gave very important instruction to Chaitanya, to Nityananda and Haridas. He said, I want you to go to every door, to every gully, every lane, knock on the door, then fall at the feet of the people and beg them, chant the name of Krishna. Worship Krishna. Read the books about Krishna. We are distributing so many books. We are distributing the holy name. We want people to become Krishna conscious. We have to go and remind them. We have to go and beg them. Please chant the holy name. Please worship Krishna. Please read the books about Krishna. If you practice in this way, then certainly at the end of life you will be successful. There's no doubt. You don't have to worry. Sometimes people think, oh, I don't know if he could be thinking of Krishna when he left the body. You know, maybe somebody dies in a car crash, or maybe somebody was unconscious in a coma. But for a devotee, it doesn't matter. Because the Puranas say, one who has given their life for the service of the Lord, even if they're not able to remember the Lord at the end of life, the Lord will remember him. Because they dedicated their life regularly serving. So certainly the Lord remembers how much service this devotee has done. And certainly the Lord will not forget him, and he will take him back to his abode. So that is, of course, that is the success of life, that you can go back to the Lord's abode. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants everyone to become Krishna conscious. He is Patita Pavan. He is delivering the fallen souls. And how is he doing it? Through Sankirtan, the Sankirtan Yajna. This is the process for the Kali Yuga. Everyone should take part in Sankirtan. And even if you're not able to join the Sankirtan, within your mind you should think about Sankirtan. You should hear. We have so many wonderful kirtaniers. We are seeing wonderful children in our Krishna consciousness movement. Lead wonderful kirtans. One of the devotees I know, the little son, he's only 5 years old. He's already on YouTube leading kirtan. You know, it's amazing. Some of the children, because they've been, the children born into the Krishna consciousness movement are not ordinary. Prabhupada taught us that very clearly. They're very special souls. They've taken birth in the family of devotees. And because they're born in the family of devotees, it means in their previous life, they were already great souls. They were already advanced yogis. Lord Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita 2 kinds of situation. One person practiced for a little while, but not yet perfect. So that person, next life, they would go to the higher planets. They would satisfy all their material desires. Then they would come back and take birth in a wealthy or an aristocratic family, where they again have the opportunity to continue their devotional service. But on the other hand, somebody practiced yoga for a long time, but still not yet perfect. Somehow, some little problem somewhere, some little attachment, and that will bring that person back. He will take birth in the family of devotees. And then in the family of devotees, from their very birth, they have Krishna consciousness. Just like Srila Prabhupada said, he was born in the devotee family. As a child, he was doing Ratha Yatra. As a child, he was seeing his father worship deities of Krishna every day. As a child, he was going to temple. And so he went to college, he studied Sanskrit. He already knew Bengali and Hindi, and Sanskrit and English. He can preach to the whole world. And Prabhupada said, he was born in the devotee family. He said, my Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, also, he was born in the devotee family. He was the seminal son of the great Acharya Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati preached Krishna consciousness. He made wonderful devotees, like our own founder Acharya. So you can see that these souls who are born in devotee families, they're special souls. They have an opportunity that this will be their last birth in the material world. Actually, when the mother and father conceive a child, the devotee couple, they should think that this child, this will be their last birth in the world. They will not have to take birth again. That is the mood in conceiving a child. And then when the child comes to the point of death, then it's not difficult for them to go back to Godhead. Just like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, of course, as a young boy, he did austerities, and the Lord came to him and gave him blessings that he would enjoy a great kingdom. Then later on, Dhruva Maharaj, after he ruled the world for many years, he retired to Badarik Ashram. He retired there to prepare for his departure from the world. And when he was in Badarik Ashram, it happened one day the aeroplane came from Vaikuntha. And the aeroplane came from Vaikuntha he's about to get into the airplane and he remembered, what about my mother? I cannot go without my mother because she was the one who helped me in the beginning to become God conscious. So she should, and he said, don't worry, look over there, there's another airplane. Your mother is also going back to God. And then Dhruva Maharaj was getting in the airplane, death personified appeared before him. He simply stepped on the head of death personified and got into the airplane. For a devotee, there's no fear of death because the devotee is detached from the material body. Jivava Marava Sadhu. Doesn't matter, live or die. We serve Krishna here, we go on and serve Krishna some other place. This is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion. The religion of eternal loving service to the Supreme Lord. So we want to make our life in that way that we can also be successful. We know Tukaram also, great devotee, it happened. Airplane came from Vaikuntha to take him back to Godhead. He asked his wife, you want to come? She didn't want to go. Tukaram went on his own. So, we hope you'll all be ready when you get the chance to get in that airplane, go back to Godhead. All right, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Any questions?
कोई प्रश्न है हिंदी में तो पूछ सकते हैं हिंदी में पूछिए
हरे कृष्णा अगर किसी का कोई भी प्रश्न है तो आप हिंदी में भी पूछ सकते हैं
बांग्ला प्रश्न
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for such a wonderful class on it. Well, there was a devotee asking me that when we leave the body, does the soul still stays in that area for a few days or at the same moment he goes down?
Yes, does the soul stay well? It will depend on the particular consciousness of the living entity. For the devotee, quite quickly they can leave the body and they can go off to some other place.